Alright, so I pulled those 2 circuit breakers because we have power on to take the pumps off.
Okay, looking at the rest of that panel, at the top left you see a toggle switch.
Yes.
Top center. Those are the wingtip lights. Those were added with the cold mill mod. So flip that up and you'll see the wingtip lights come on.
Okay.
Those are not stock. They were added with the STC.
Okay.
When they put the winglets on there. Okay. Forward to that you see the little ammeter.
Yep.
That's for the prop heat.
Okay.
So if you turn on the prop heat, you'll see the amps jump. Okay. It's a 2-minute cycle, and there's 2 zones on each blade.
Yep.
There's 4 zones total for the cycle. So 30 seconds each, it's a 2-minute full cycle. If you have full amps for the full 2 minutes, then all the zones are working. If the amps drop during one of those cycles, then one of the zones is not working.
Then it's just, let's see, which one was that?
Which the hell zone was it? Yep. It says on the ground a maximum of 2 cycles because it gets too hot, you know. So
right.
You can actually turn it on and put your hands on the boots and feel which ones.
Yes.
Getting warm.
All right.
So you get up to 2 cycles, so up to 4 minutes of doing that.
Where's the switch for that?
The prop heat, all of the heaters are up here.
That's the prop heat. Okay.
Okay, right windshield does not have heat, right left
The left does.
Pitot, prop, surface.
And that's the boots.
Okay.
Okay. Below the ammeter over there on the panel, you see 2 lights.
Yep.
Those are blue. They look just like the landing gear lights. Each of those with that big barrel on it is individually twist to dim.
Yep.
Those are for the de-ice boots. There's 2 zones. A is the wings, B is the tail. They run sequentially, so A runs for 6 seconds and then B runs for 6 seconds. When it gets up to a certain pressure, which is adequate, I can't find what that is, the blue light comes on and says you're up to pressure, so it should indicate that it's working. It goes off when it transitions to the next zone, and then the B zone comes on when it's up to pressure.
Can I test those on the ground?
You won't have any pneumatics because the engines aren't running.
Yeah, true that. But I can do, I mean, on the ground as in when I'm running it.
When you're doing an engine run, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is actuated by this switch right here. It's a single push and releases. 1 push gives you 1 cycle.
Okay.
You have to do it manually every time.
So when you're flying, you have to keep flicking that switch when you need it?
Yep.
That's nice.
Keep looking for ice and say, okay, forgot it, hit it.
Yeah. Okay, bottom left of the main panel there, the red is the ELT.
Yep.
That's not stock, it's been retrofit, it's a Narco.
Is it a 406? No?
No.
It doesn't look like it.
Cobham, not Narco, Cobham.
That's not a 406.
It's a 121.5, I tested it.
Haha, another 406, baby. Woo!
Damn it.
Okay.
This new antenna, shit.
Yeah. Okay, the little lit gauge you see there with the left-right buttons and the slave button,
Yep.
that belongs to the HSI.
Yep.
So you're familiar?
Yep.
Okay, good. The pilot's earphones and microphone to the bottom left down there. Look, feel under the panel, underneath,
should be
underneath those.
Yep.
That's the static pressure port.
All right.
The alternate
Typical.
static.
Typical Piper one.
And it's also a water drain if there's water in the system.
Yep.
To the lower right of the little lit King HSI, the toggle switch up and down, that's an accelerometer test switch for the autopilot.
Okay.
The autopilot's got accelerometers in it. If it's pulling too much G, then it's supposed to kick it off. When we do the autopilot test, that does not work. I don't know if that means bad accelerometers, bad switch. I don't know what that means.
You got that, Mark? That's a Mark thing.
Sounds like a new autopilot.
Nice little Garmin that integrates with the 750.
That might be, yeah, that might be something. Yeah.
And actually, that HSI, it'll slave to nav on the Garmin, but the CDI needle will not auto slave to your nav. You have to manually turn it every time you're on a new course.
What?
It does not auto slave the course needle to the new course. So if you put a Garmin G5 in there, that probably wouldn't hurt anybody.
Well,
that's a little money, though.
We've done a...
Well, the G5 isn't bad. It's the rest of the story.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep going across the bottom there. Don't pull it yet, but the silver handle right below the control column.
Yep.
You can't see it until you look
Yeah, right
around.
here. Yeah,
That's
right.
the parking brake.
Okay.
The rule here is you push the pedals first. Turn the cabin speaker off.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. You push the pedals first and then you move the handle. Every time you do it. If you don't, you can trash the brakes. They won't work.
Push the pedals first.
Yep, so reach out and push the top of the brakes. Push hard, now pull the handle. Hold the brakes, pull the handle. And that sets the parking brake. Now release and you can feel the pressure on them.
Yeah, they're already there.
Okay, so it's similar to what the
just push it
what
in the
some
release?
of the Grummins
Push the
have.
brakes and then push it in.
Similar to what the Grummins have,
Yeah.
basically.
It just holds the pressure.
Right.
But you got to push the pedals first.
Yep.
If you pull that handle before you push the pedals, you can ruin the brakes.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. I get the impression it dumps the fluid or something like that. Okay, to the right of that is the gear handle.
Yep.
The gear is hydraulic. There's a pump on each engine. The green is down and locked. The red light above it is in transit.
Okay.
When you put the gear up or down, what happens is you move the handle to the position and the gear moves, and when it's done, the pumps build pressure back up in the hydraulic system. When there's enough pressure, that handle will pop back to center.
Huh, okay.
So one of the checks you do on the ground, when you start the first engine, you push that handle down and you watch, and it should pop back to center because there's enough hydraulics. So you're validating the hydraulic pump on that first engine.
Right.
Then you start the second. When you shut down, you shut them down in the same order. Shut down the first one you started, while the second one is still running, you do that check again and validate
okay.
the pump on the second engine.
All right.
So that's a normal part of the checklist to validate that the pumps are
That's
working.
all on the checklist.
Yes. Weird though that you're reaching down there and touching that gear handle and not retracting the gear.
Yes.
I mean,
On the ground.
Every time I touch that damn thing, I'm like, what am I doing right now?
Yeah.
Okay. To the right of the gear handle there, that is part of the prop synchro phaser.
Yep.
It's off or on. It seems to work very well. I don't know what the phase adjustment knob does because I haven't had to touch it. Above that is the Avionics Master. It's a pull to throw over.
Yep.
Okay. Going up to the top left, there's a standard little manual clock. Below that is an old school Collins DME. It seems to work when the nav station is receiving. Your standard pitot-static instruments. At the bottom left over there is an ADF tied to the ADF. I don't know if it works. Haven't tried it.
So at least you can listen to ball games if it works.
I guess. It does not slave the compass rose. You have to manually turn the compass rose. At the top center, the black screen there is the autopilot flight director annunciator panel. Push the test button at the bottom right there. It won't come on until we throw the master. You can turn on the Avionics Master if you want. There you go.
Yep. There we go.
And you want to hear 4 beeps out of the trim to say that it's good.
Okay.
Minimum 4 beeps. The HSI auto slaves. It seems to work pretty reliably in terms of heading. I think that I'm sure the HSI is electric. I'm guessing that the ADI is still pneumatic because it's not riding itself right now.
Yes.
Those two, I'm pretty sure, are still pneumatic. They were by design pneumatic when the airplane was stock. The HSI was an option on the airplane.
Makes sense.
The POH talks about the air filters for the pneumatic pumps being real critical to swap out regularly.
Yep.
On this airplane, I am told that those filters are underneath the panel because it's a one-way flow from the cockpit through the gauges to the pump.
Yep.
But they seem to say, a lot of people say that changing those out regularly is critical for the life of the pneumatic pumps. We got a dual ILS receiver, so the second one on the bottom is slave to nav 2. Nav 1 and nav and com 1 are all part of the Garmin. That's nav 2 and com 2. The transponder and the Garmin were STCs after the fact. You know how those work.
Mm-hmm.
The Bendix radar came with the airplane. It works. I turned it on the other day. At the top center, engine instruments.
Is this the one that's fallen out?
Yeah, if you pull on it, it just slides out.
Yeah, that ain't right. All right, where the hell's
thinking bottom left
Right
is the
there.
only screw hole, and
Okay,
that one.
yep.
Those are the only 2 screw holes I can find.
Gotta catch
Okay,
them.
that's actually got a screw in it,
Uh-oh.
so I can feel.
Yeah, I hear it.
So it feels like a mounting screw right there. That just looks like a.
That looks like a light. It was
Yeah.
flashing.
I think that's just a light there. Oh,
See, now you're connected. When you do that, then you, yeah. I should say, how's this thing connected?
I'm not sure.
All right.
So that's got to be screwed in somehow.
Okay.
All right.
These seats go down,
Yes.
and
There's an interim handle somewhere halfway up that does the vertical. The engine instruments at the top left is the manifold pressure, RPM, they're split needles.
Yep.
The Shaden fuel totalizer there was added as part of the coal mill mod. It actually is set really well. It was within a gallon when I got here of what I'd actually burned, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I like the EGT needles on the top right.
Yep.
They're critical to the operation of these engines. These engines are all about temperatures and controlling,
Right.
temperatures.
what cylinders are pulling it off of? You know?
I read that the CHT is off of cylinder 6. I don't know where the EGT is coming from.
I'm sure we can find it.
I think cylinder 6 is in the front.
Lycoming would be in the back.
Lycoming's in the back.
Yeah.
Those are fuel pressure. And with the 3 pumps, this thing is all about fuel pressure. If you go below that 34 or whatever red line minimum, then you got a problem.
That's one of them. We don't get enough.
Oh yeah.
Give me more, give me more.
Yeah. The vacuum needles at the center right above the tail number.
There.
Yep. Well, there's a vacuum pump on each engine. Either one will run everything.
Okay. So
Either-
you have
either-
no idea which one is. If one fails, then you don't get a light or anything like that.
You get one of the annunciator lights
Okay.
at the top.
All right.
At the left end of the annunciator panel is a test button. Push it and hold it. And you'll see the fuel flows show up after a few seconds. So those are all the annunciators.
How about this one?
That one is dedicated to the flap test button underneath this control yoke. The button right there, push it.
Come on.
There you go.
Flat. Okay.
And there is a test during the ground ops to validate
Flap
that.
test.
Okay. At the bottom of the white part of the panel, you see a gauge and a big black knob on the right. That's oxygen pressure and the oxygen valve right there. Yes.
Rotates to turn on, I guess.
I think you just pull.
Is it labeled at all?
No.
It says oxygen.
does-
Okay, it does. All right,
Okay.
good.
my old man eyes couldn't read it.
Full on. Yep. Oxygen.
All right.
Full on.
The bottle is back in the tail. I'll show you that as we're walking
Okay.
around the airplane. The knob that's just to the lower right of the column that's pulled out right there, that is supposedly a air exhaust port at the back of the fuselage.
Huh.
You pull that to help the airflow through the
All right.
interior of the airplane. I can't get that to move, and I can't find the port on the aft part of the fuselage where the POH says it should be.
That doesn't move at all?
I should, but I can't get it to. I'm not really manhandling it much.
Yeah, I
Did
got
you get it to move?
It doesn't move much. I mean, that's out.
Thing is, I can't find the port on the back of the airplane where they say it should be. It's probably somewhere, but I just can't find it.
hiding.
All right. Maintenance man will tell you.
Yeah, okay. The flap test button, we already looked at that. The flap gauge is right to the left of that,
There.
and that's the flap control handle. You can move them if you want. Split flaps were a big deal in this airplane 20 years ago. They don't seem to be much anymore.
Right.
There's a detent at 15, and then all the way down. You can set them anywhere you want in between.
Okay.
The 2 red knobs are the alternate air for the engines. They're supposed to be automatic, but if they start icing up and don't do automatic, you can pull that, and that's the manual alternate air, so it goes somewhere out on the nacelles. All across the black bottom are the air controls. There's a Janitrol heater in the nose. There is an air conditioner on the right engine, so you can choose either one.
that's there. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll see the compressor when we walk around. That's also why the alternator is exposed directly to the airflow on the left intake.
Yeah.
And the POH talks about if you get into heavy rain, that belt can slip. You have to minimize the load below 40 amps to keep it from slipping. That's interesting phenomena. The Avionics bus is on the right sidewall there. So
Right
a
there.
few breakers, mostly Avionics. To your shoulder up here is an outside air temperature probe, standalone. And you can see the probe on the outside of the airplane. Coming across the top panel right here, emergency fuel pumps. That is the only meter I can find in the airplane. It's a Hobbs that it runs only with weight off wheels.
Yeah, we're gonna add something for sure.
Yeah. You have 2 fuel gauges. They are selected from the inboard or outboard with the fuel valves. So if you move the fuel valve, the needles go with the valve, right? They're off right now. If you pull the handle and move it outboard, you're selecting the outboard tank, and you're now reading fuel off the outboard tank. See those?
Okay.
If you turn them
Okay.
inboard, you're now feeding and reading off of the inboard.
That's pretty hokey.
At least it follows the valve, right?
Right.
And on the ground, they should be off. Okay. Here are your cockpit lighting controls right here. Your mags and your starter switch. It's a rocker. Left turns the left engine, right turns the right engine.
Yep.
This is a STC mod, an ammeter. If you notice that little knob to the top left,
Yeah.
it selects left alternator, the center is battery bus, and the right is right alternator. Whatever you have selected is reading at the time. You can read volts or amps. There's a discharge and a high amperage light on there. If you look at the switches, this is most of your external lighting. There is a wing icing light. It's on the left nacelle, and it's used to detect the icing.
Yeah.
It's on the outside of the nacelle, and it points toward the outside of the wing.
Yep.
On this anti-collision or position, it has, I can't read that right there, but it has like ident or flash or something like that. There's some wording there. Can you read it?
No.
Whatever it is.
Recognition.
On and
recognition.
recognition.
Yeah. I can't see what it does different.
What that should be for recognition lights should be something that lights up the tail for most recognition lights.
Oh, like Pan Am lights.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't looking there. I was looking at the nav lights. Well, we'll take. You want to take a look at the tail and see if something comes on? So turn on the nav.
Turn it up.
First, the position lights.
This one?
Yeah. Anything on the tail? All I could tell was that the nav lights came on in all positions.
Now, usually recognition lights is something that's going to flash up on the tail,
Well,
like I said.
I can't tell
Or
that
just,
it does
or just
anything.
shine a light.
Yeah. We call those Pan Am lights
Yeah.
because we're bragging about we're from Pan Am.
Ah. That's many, many moons ago, isn't it?
Yep. These are all your heaters, like we talked about.
Yep.
And then up here are your cabin, your seat belts, and no smoking lights for your passengers.
Seriously?
The recirc fan is on lower high. That's part of the air handler system. And the air conditioner control here. If you just turn fan on, you'll feel the airflow
Yep.
through the vents.
Yep.
If you flip it to the other side, then you get air conditioning, and then you set the temperature with the knob down there.
What's this?
This is a dome light.
Ah.
That
That should be
and
labeled.
that light.
Could be
Yeah, you shouldn't have touched it.
No, it's
Yeah, I would've-
not, because that's hardwired to the battery. It'll kill the battery.
There you go.
Definitely need a new switch.
Yeah, there's one at the back for the passenger door as well. Those are both hardwired to the battery.
All right.
They will kill the battery. So for us pilot types, that's a big don't leave it that way.
Yeah.
Here's the oxygen ports. Scott fittings, I tested those yesterday at least for fit.
Okay.
We need to get some oxygen put in the bottle in order to test the mass and the flow on the system.
Adam said he can do that next door.
Perfect.
So
Let's go ahead and do it. I'll put it on my air card to get it filled up because we want to try it when we fly over the next day or two.
all
We'll
right.
have to do it this morning because we're going to fly. We don't need it today, but
Sure.
we can get it done like this afternoon or something.
Friction lock here for
Yep.
all your levers.
Pull those prop levers back to the detent.
That should be.
Okay,
Oh,
so
that's
pull,
good. That's
push
all.
the left individually up to the detent. Do you feel the detent?
No.
I don't either. The left side, I can barely feel anything. The right side is pretty light, but I can
right
feel
there.
one.
That's right.
That's kind of important.
There should be a detent somewhere to say, okay, hey,
Don't if you
you
pull
go
past
beyond
that,
it,
you
you're going
feather.
to start in reverse. Or,
If you
yeah.
pull past that,
Okay.
you feather. And you want that detent so you don't do it in flight.
Right.
I can't feel one on the left.
We'll have to see
hate
what's
to
in the
guess what
parts
that
book.
is.
Okay.
Let's see what the parts book says.
All right, on the left of the throttle, the left throttle is a button on the side. That's the go-around button for
Right.
the autopilot.
Okay.
The autopilot control panel right below there. So far, everything works. It's a little clunky every now and then, but it works. Your trim needles are all electric. The trim is manual, but the needles are electric. Yep. I have the lights turned up because below at the bottom on the corner to the two sides are the cowl flap position needles in the center of the switches, one for each. You can set them any position you want, and they're used quite a bit to manage the engine temperatures, but I can't see the freaking needles without those lights on. The fuel control panel is at the bottom there. You've already seen the tank switch valves. The cross feed is in the center. You pull up and rotate to turn it on. That is emergency use only.
That there, right?
The cross feed, yep.
Okay.
And then to the top left and right, you see the firewall fuel shutoff valves. They're manual.
That
Put your
these?
finger under there, pull it outboard and up. And it takes a lot. No,
Oh, this-
keep going. Pull hard. There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
See how hard they are to pull?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's by design or just not used, but we're supposed to exercise them every time before start to make sure they work. That warning light comes on as soon as you pull one of them. I don't know why it's telling you the obvious, but it's there.
POH.
That's the checklist that the FAA gave us. It was their checklist.
Okay.
We're adapting and adopting to add some stuff for our checklist here. Pedals don't move that I can discover. I wish they did, but they don't. The seats go forward and aft, up and down, and they do actually recline, I think. There's one shoulder belt for each pilot with a reel on the sides. The pilot door right there was a mod to the airplane. It was an option. This airplane started its life as a small airliner in the Cayman Islands.
Yep.
And that was put there so that the pilot didn't have to crawl over the passengers to get into the cockpit.
Not only that, but you definitely need that for cooling.
Well, it would make it a lot nicer for that. So the way you close it is you put your hand out there and lift the weight of the door off of the strut. Then you grab that knurled knob and push outboard, and that releases it, and it slides in. On the yoke right there, the trim switches on the top. That's the electric trim.
Yep.
Around the front, to the front left, you'll see CWS. That's an autopilot slave function. Right there, or sync. See that sync button? That's
Yeah.
autopilot slaving. The big red button is the autopilot cutoff. And the inside of the yoke, next to the red button, is the push to talk.
Okay. Right
And it's
there.
like sticking a needle in your thumb.
Yeah.
That is an ident switch for the
Oh,
iPad.
remote ident. Okay.
If it works. I don't know yet.
I wish you can buy those black caps. Can you buy those black caps for these?
I don't know. Probably.
That's distinctly unergonomic, that little bitty thing. And you use it a lot.
Now, is this
but
trim
then that-
switch? Is that? I've seen some of them where you have to push down.
You don't have to push
activate.
down,
You don't have to push
but
down
it's
on
a
it.
split
It's just-
switch. You
okay.
gotta push
A lot of
both.
space in between there.
The pilot's microphone connector at the bottom left of the panel seems to be a little intermittent.
Which one? This one?
Yep. If you jiggle your plug for your headset, it goes intermittent sometimes.
I need to bend one of
The
the
tabs.
contacts. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the Garmin GPS there for a second. So you can see the database. The nav database is good, but we got to load the rest of them.
Yep.
Push continue.
That's all. All those are. That's a Bates thing.
Gotcha.
I don't do those.
So we can fill up. It'll do fuel monitoring.
So half. Okay, that's good. Yeah, fuel on board.
Yep.
Fuel flow. All right.
And you can top it off with fuel on board if you want.
This is 331. Yep.
That is topped off, 181.9. It's 182 usable. So continue. Okay, now you come to your main menu page. If you look across the top next to the comm frequencies, you see audio panel, push that. Your audio panel is integrated on this thing to there.
Okay.
It's got a lot of Gucci-ness to it. You can do split mode. So if you push it, the pilot and the autopilot are isolated from each other and listening to different radios.
All right.
It took us a while to figure that out and get rid of it.
Get rid of
That's
it.
kind of nice in a way.
Playback
Sometimes.
controls. This thing somehow records the radio transmissions, and if you want, you can play them back. Right there.
Yep.
So bottom left, hit back to get out of this. Bottom left. There you go. There you go. And you can turn on the cabin speaker like you heard. I turned it
Right.
off. So come out of audio panel at the top. There you go. Okay, that works too. Intercom right below it. That's how you turn on or turn off talking to each other or the passengers and your individual volumes and squelch. Back. Touch the green arrow.
Oh, okay.
Turns it on and off.
Ah.
Took us a while to figure out that was not on between the pilot and the co-pilot so we could talk to each other. So we had to turn it on. It's Gucci, but I kind of wish it wasn't integrated in there because I got to leave my nav page to deal with my radios.
Right.
You know, it does have a nice function in that you can, if you go back to the audio panel, you can monitor somewhere your auxiliary frequency, your standby frequency. I don't see it on here.
Monitored radios.
No. It's better than that. Get out of audio panel. Now touch your COM 1 standby frequency. Touch your standby frequency. Okay, so see, if you
Monitor.
plug in your standby and you tap monitor,
Okay,
it's
so-
listening to both frequencies.
Ah, okay.
So you can actually listen to 3 frequencies simultaneously if you want. The COM 2 and both frequencies in the COM 1. That's a neat function.
That's nuts.
Better have it like, okay, this is coming from here, this is coming from here, this is coming from here. It's like,
Yep. And then you get a lot of Gucci ass functions on the
Yeah.
main menus. It takes a little getting used to. There's a lot there.
Now, have you messed with this a lot with the Garmin's like this?
430s and 650s mostly. This is my first time using a
750?
Yep.
How have you seen that in flight as far as the touchscreen thing?
Fine, but I haven't been in any turbulence yet. The pilot that delivered it told me he lays his fingers on top to stabilize his hand in
Yeah.
turbulence and uses his thumb. He said that's the technique
I
to make
mean,
it
that's
work.
one of the reasons I did not go with any of the Garmin's. I went
Yeah.
with the Avionics
Okay.
on mine.
I don't mind the touchscreen at all. I haven't
Yeah.
had issues yet.
Right.
So we'll see. That's pretty much the overview here. Any questions?
One more time.
You don't turn the master switch on when you have external power applied. You turn the master switch on after the external power is pulled.
And
That's in the checklist.
I have to do the
And you have to pull those breakers to keep the pumps from running while you're doing ground stuff.
there is no starting if the battery dies then, right? No.
You can start on external power.
Can you?
Yes.